Of course, the corporate media, you remember this. Gunshot victims left waiting as horse dewormer overdoses overwhelm Oklahoma. So this was supposed to be September 21st in Oklahoma. People are out in winter coats, apparently, and they're waiting in line to get in an emergency room. Who does that? They have gunshots. All these people have gunshots, according to this. And then, but everybody ran it, including Rachel Maddow. She ran it.
Yeah,
right. This tweet is still up. She's not retracted. She hasn't retracted any lies she's ever said. She leaves them up.
So do they think that Joe Rogan's doctor prescribed him a thing with the horse on the cover?
I think they think that. That's what they want people to think.
I mean, he can do a lot of push-ups.
That's what they want people to think. And turns out it works for most people.
Well, I found out by Rolling Stone, by the way. I watched some about
go watch a comedy show. Anyway, it works. The propaganda works.
So that guy, his son kind of like took over, and that's why when Rolling Stone started doing that, like Rachel Maddow,
yeah,
his kid, that guy's kid,
that's
Gus
right.
took over.
He's horrible. These guys that Joe Rogan humiliated on.
Yeah, but that guy is not even his. The reason it's so bad now is because that kid.
Yeah,
his nepo baby.
So. The person who Glenn Greenwald says the person who won a $30 million Comcast contract by telling liberals that the Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, lab leak was debunked, Trump had a secret server with Alpha Bank, Russia put bounties on U.S. soldiers. She's now too worried about lies to show Trump's speech. So that's who these people are. In fact, you know that their approval rating for corporate media is below politicians now. That's how bad it is. Trusted news has collapsed. Look how low it is. It's all the way down there. It's like 11%. Trust in it's at 11%. I think that's
an all-time high.
that's like, isn't that where that's right around what the approval rating for Congress is? Really? That's how bad news is, corporate news is.
But still worse than that, though.
So Glenn Greenwald, he's going to tell most of the story about this Matt Taibbi thing. So it is true when you expose establishment lies and wrongdoing, as Twitter files showed that the FBI, the DHS, the CIA were censoring the internet. They will send out all their hacks and spokespeople to attack you. Watch how the BBC tried this with me during the Snowden reporting. So he knows how this goes. I saw how this went with me. As soon as I tried to hold AOC and the Democrats accountable during Force the Vote, a myriad of smear pieces emerged in the corporate-owned news media. New York Magazine, Newsweek, Washington Post. So Glenn Greenwald then says, so from the start, liberal politicians and journalists knew they had to attack the Twitter files. It exposed the axis of the U.S. security state, the Democratic Party, media corporations, and big tech liberals who created the censorship regime. First, it was a nothing burger, and now it's just mistakes. That's what they're saying now. So on Wednesday, Matt Taibbi was interviewed by Peacock host Mehdi Hasan. And Hasan, in his standard style, melodramatically pointed out a couple of mild errors in Taibbi's extensive Twitter files reporting. Turns out that I think two of those aren't even errors. He pointed out three things. Two of them aren't even errors. And Taibbi prominently corrected them all before that segment even aired. That's like what a responsible journalist would do. When you have some minor factual inaccuracies in your overall story, you go back and correct them. And that's what he did.
I didn't used to work here when that happened.
That's what I say. And so, yes, in hundreds of tweets and articles reporting the Twitter files, there were a couple of errors that Taibbi instantly corrected. That's how you build trust and integrity with your readers. On the other hand, MSNBC and CNN and liberal media never correct their errors. They've never corrected that the Steele dossier was 100% made up. They've never corrected that Paul Manafort was giving these secret polling data. They never, to the Russians, they never corrected anything they said about the server or the Russians or Trump or anything, or Julian Assange. They still let people believe. So there you go. So Matt Taibbi tweeted this out. He says, part of the job is facing critics and making corrections when appropriate. This is how we arrive at truth in a free press system. I went on Mehdi Hasan today to defend the Twitter files precisely because MSNBC hasn't engaged in this process across years of Russiagate reports. So he's going to show you how to do it. Matt Taibbi's like, I'm going to but again, dumb idea. It was he has bad advisors. He has bad decision because that was a bad idea. Because you think you're going to he's just going to come in and sandbag you and talk over you, which is exactly what he did. And then he said, but for Mehdi Hasan to gloat over 2 minor errors while dismissing both the substance of censorship story in the Twitter files and the fact that those stories expose significant uncorrected mistakes by his own network is incredible. I stand by my work. So that's Matt Taibbi's official position. So you want to see what happened. So here's the big moment when Mehdi Hasan has the big gotcha. Here we go.
You talk a lot about the Election Integrity Project in the Twitter files, which Stanford and the University of Washington.
The Election Integrity Project, funded by the government.
Founded to monitor attacks on our elections. And you say some stuff about them that a lot of your critics say is not true, and that affects your credibility. You said the EIP was founded in response to the government dropping its proposal for a disinformation government. Well, there you are. We're quoting you on screen. It wasn't. It was formed 2 years earlier. You suggest it was government funded, even though during the 2020 election that you're covering, it wasn't. You say they labeled 22 million tweets as misinformation in the run-up to the 2020 vote. They didn't. They flagged 3,000 election misinformation tweets.
Now, turns out Matt Taibbi's got this right, and Mehdi's got this one wrong. Okay. Further review. Turns out Mehdi's gotcha isn't a gotcha.
For labeling, so you were only 21,997,000 off. And you also claim the EIP was, let me finish the question, you can come back in. You also claim the EIP was partnered with the government Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, CISA, to censor Twitter, but you mix up.
But they did. But now he's going to pretend like because Matt got a acronym wrong that he didn't.
CISA, CISA, a Homeland Security Agency, with the Center for Internet Security, the CIS, which is a non-profit. In fact, you added an A to CIS. I think people can see it there in brackets to make that false claim. It's just error after error, Matt, on just this one topic.
Okay, so those are the big gotchas.
But the other ones aren't.
The other ones aren't?
No.
22 million number came from their own report?
Yeah, where did it came from a report in March. Do you know what the 22 million number is, Matt? Can you tell me? Because we checked. 22 million is the number of tweets about election misinformation that they just mapped. How many tweets were they? The ones they actually flagged to Twitter before the election, 22 million came after the election. It wasn't in the run-up. They flagged 3,000. So you were off by 21,997,000. That's another error.
They said a lot of things. I stand by my story.
So he's right, and Mehdi's wrong about that. So, and it turns out Matt Taibbi was right about the CISA thing. So I know this is going to get into the weeds, but I'll give you a real broad brush. Washington was reporting misinformation to CIS and CISA in 2020. It was partnership. Mehdi Hasan should retract his post. And what post should he retract? He says, my last word on CISA and CIS. Matt Taibbi suggested a nonprofit was an intel agency to try and prove government collusion and censorship. Wasn't just a typo or a minor error. He said it to Congress under oath. It was key to his thesis. Will he be asking Jim Jordan to correct the record? That's not, they were working. That's all not true. So what he's saying there is not true. That they're a nonprofit. Here, I'll show. So right there, they were reporting misinformation to CIS and CISA. So this is particularly stupid gotcha, given that CIS was the government contractor working for CISA and the Department of Homeland Security to help facilitate social media takedown requests. Mehdi focuses on a minor error while obscuring the bigger picture to defend the Department of Homeland Security's overreach.
That's kind of like in his LinkedIn, like what he's qualified to do for your organization. He goes, "I'll obscure the big picture while defending the Department of Homeland Security's
that's
overreach."
Another one of those things. Yes. So, Mehdi, you obviously haven't read the reporting here. CISA is the DHS agency that partnered with EIP. Here's an email of the CISA employee discussing an EIP ticketed misinfo report. So And CIS, the Center for Internet Security, is the government contractor that served as the intermediary between CISA and the Department of Homeland Security and its partners, including local state government NGOs like EIP, law enforcement, FBI. Here's the CIS email explaining the process. Matt got it right. And Aaron says, so this actually means that Mehdi Hasan and his staff found a grand total of one error in Matt Taibbi's reporting. He got a date wrong. So Matt Taibbi goes to Twitter and says, which I admitted, confusing CIS and CISA in one tweet. But CISA was a partner to EIP, and Mehdi Hasan should acknowledge this. Well, hardy har har. Of course he's not going to acknowledge it, which is why he made a tweet like this saying, this is my last word on it. He's not going to, of course he's not going to acknowledge because he knows he's wrong. His producers know he's wrong. Everybody at MSNBC knows he's wrong, but that they're narrative enforcers. They're not about journalism or getting the story out. And that's why it was so silly for Matt Taibbi to go on that show. I'm sure he regrets it. I'm sure he regrets it. So also getting in on the, so there you go. So that's the big thing. Do you have anything to say about it?
Mehdi Hasan makes Piers Morgan look like James Corden.
So that's what they're doing. They're going after Matt Taibbi. They're going after that. So whenever you do that, that's exactly what.
I thought Mehdi Hasan was well known to be a
liar. No, they love the Democrats. So again, what's happened since Trump is that you're either on my team or off my team. He's on their team.
Oh, that's cool.
And so he's loved by all those people until he does something like Katie Tour does and tells the truth about the indictment against Trump and says it's not anything.
What about when...
or Leslie Stahl, until Mehdi Hasan interviews Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Why they finally turn on Don Lemon? That's my main...
They have turned on Don Lemon. Because he said that shit about women. That's why.
The things are crazy. Now, it's the Daily... I want to believe the words about Don Lemon, but in fairness, Daily Beast. But also... This is like 2008 or something. This stuff was going on.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so now they're bringing up stuff about Don Lemon. Yeah, now they're from back in 2008.
Yeah, they bravely brought it up now in 2023.
He was being mean to the women. I'm like,
he got a burner phone so he could harass.
Did he? All right, well, let's talk about this at another segment. Go to jimmydore.com to see my new stand-up special, COVID Lies Are Funny. For only $10, you get to become a premium member, too. And come see us do our live shows. We're going to be doing stand-up comedy in Milwaukee, Nashville, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, New York, Cohoes, New York, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Maryland, and more. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.